BORTLE here, back from the LCS 8 event of the online format. That is right, guys, number 8. And we have here Paulo topping again. Back-to-back events, man, LCS events. Paulo, what's up? Introduce yourself to the world, man. What did you do?
What's up? My name is Paulo. I'm from Brazil, and I top 8 this event playing Zoodiac Eldlich Dogma, which I call ZED.
What made you decide to play this deck? Like, you have so many themes going on right now in it.
Yeah, like the original ideas from my friend Guilherme from here from Brazil. I just help in the end to polish the deck a little bit. But the main thing about this deck it can outgrind pretty much every deck in this meta. It's probably impossible to go to a simplified game state against this and win. Really unlikely. So is one main selling point of this deck. Also, I think it was in a good spot in the meta game because I was expecting the virtual world rise for this event, and because of virtual world was rising, dinosaur was declining, and the decline of dinosaur is really good for this deck because the dino is the worst matchup, and virtual world is a good matchup. So both things happening at the same time is amazing for this list. Yeah, I think those are the main reasons.
So, what happened in the top 8? What stopped you?
Yeah, I lost to Gabriel. That's also a Brazilian player who won the event. I disconnected game one. Was really sad time for me. And I think I was like in a better position. I think so. Yeah, losing the game one like that was really bad, and I lost game two normally. But in reality, I only played one game. Not taking anything away from Gabriel. That's not what I'm saying. But I only played one game in that match. So I think I had a chance to go further if possible, right? But the matchup against Virtual Wood is not bad. Like I drew a bad hand against Virtual Wood because I drew no Eldlich cards in the only game that I played. The game one I had Eldlich cards. So that's why I think I had a good position.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
one of the main problems of playing online is where your connection may drop and disconnects happen and stuff like that. Either way, you did amazing in this event. And before we jump into the actual deck profile portion of the video, would you please do some shout outs? Do you have any shout outs for today?
Yeah, I want to shout out Guilherme at first because he was the one that created the whole point of the deck to begin with, and I worked from there, and we discussed the deck a lot. So shout out for him. Shout out to Christian Thomas, which we didn't work in this deck together, but we work in decks together in the past a lot. So I always shout out him because of that. And I just want to commentate that I have a channel that I'm starting to make content in English, and my matches in this event and the previous event too. I make match commentaries about my plays, really in depth commentate of my plays and all those things. I really like really in depth competitive content, which I don't think there is a lot of in there. Like 40-minute videos talking about one match, for example. And this is the type of thing that I like to do, and that happened on my channel. So if anyone is interested to know more about the plays and the deck in general and Yu-Gi-Oh in general, just check out my channel.
Yes, of course. Make sure to check out the description down below, everyone, and the comment section. I'll definitely plug Paulo's channel down there too, because I think he's somewhat decent in the Yu-Gi-Oh scene. So if you want to get better, make sure to check out his videos. So without further ado, please take it away, man.
So this deck, as I said before, is functional as the deck that can be grinded. I have three engines, which is Zodiac, Eldlich, and Dogmatica. Uh, I only play 8 Zoo cards, and I think it's enough, especially because of the other engines. You don't like to draw a lot of the same zoo, not the same zoos, but a lot of zoos together in hand, like 2 zoos, 3 zoos. You only want to see one, and 8 is a perfect number to that. And also, I play 2 blades and no right, as you guys can see, because in the times that I do draw multiple zoos, having blades is the one that sometimes I can trade one of the zoos for a different card by using blade effect. So that's why I play blade over rat, and also because rat is super super weak to gamma and ogre to an extent, and you're kind of forced to use rat effect, and I really dislike that. And I was seeing myself a lot when I was playing rat before, summon rat and be afraid of gamma not using effect. So what's the point in using this card if you're not using the effect? It has no other effect. So wait Zeus, I play 8 Dogmatica cards too. Everything's pretty much standard besides the Maximus that I play without the Shadow cards, the Shadow Trap and all. I think Maximus is a card. It was a concession for combo decks, especially because against combo decks, you usually I side out all the, I forgot to mention, like my previous deck, the Eldlich Synchro deck that I used before, I side out all my Eldlich cards going second against combo pool side, and whatever is left in my deck, in this case is a Zoodiac and Dogma, they have to have enough power to play the game by themselves. Even without Maximus, I think the Dogmatica part would be too weak. So that was a concession for combo most of the part. It has some other uses, but mainly that.
For that one Maximus, were you scared, just in case someone had the extra deck to counter it, or were you just banking on facing virtual worlds all day?
Yeah, like some decks that I know they do play the counter in the extra deck, I don't even use the fact. I don't search it. If I happen to draw it, I just use it like a normal summon that can make BLS, for a special summon that can make BLS, for example. There was a game in my channel where I played against a Buster Blader Dogma. I think it was round 4. But I played the Dogma. I know he played Dogma card, so I couldn't use the effect. So I used the card without using the effect. So I just do that. Like against Virtual World or Infernoble or Dragon Link, all those decks, I can safely use the effect. When I can't, I just side it out.
And did the punishment ever backfire? Because I do see that you kind of like go into your extra deck sometimes, right?
It can happen. It happened in my top 8 matchup. I have to use punishment twice just to live, and the conflict with Mazu card, that can happen. But this is covered by the Eldlich cards. It only happened like backfiring if you don't have any Eldlich, which was the situation in my game that I lost against Gabriel. So yeah, it can happen, but I don't think it's super often, because more often than not, you will have your Eldlich engine going. So even if you use the punishment, you have the Eldlich cards doing something, sometimes even more Dogma cards too.
Okay, perfect. So timing is everything. The hand traps in your main deck, was this like efficient enough for you?
Yeah, 12 I think is a good number. I think Ash Impermanence is kind of mandatory in this type of deck. Nibiru is a meta call. Again, I think Virtual World would be a popular deck, and it was. Also, Infernoble is a deck that was on the rise. So of course Nibiru is really good against them, and Vela is the most generic, is the weakest one of them for sure, but is the one of the generic enough that I can main. I think those are good options to beat my go-to hand traps in there.
Okay, and what are your thoughts of Ghost Mourner over Valor in the main deck?
Yeah, I cited that in the past. It was even the last card that I cut it, the side deck, the end. And I think Veiler is more generic. For example, you can hit a Leicesters with that. You can hit normal summon Ecclesias with Veiler. You can't use that with the Ghost Mourner, for example. I think Ghost Mourner is a little bit worse in that type of scenario. This is pretty much that. The difference is not that huge, but I think it's enough to justify having Veiler over that.
Okay, cool. Would you like to run down the extra deck?
So extra deck, play the Zoos, right? I don't play Kong, which was a card that I was considering playing. I think everything else in the Zoo part is standard as a Zoo engine, not a Zoo deck. The Kong was a card that I want to play, but I prefer. I'm not saying Kong is bad. I just prefer playing the Lynx, which was the Link Spider, the Phoenix, and the BLS. BLS is amazing. I think BLS is really, really important in Eldlich decks I played before and I'm playing again. Is an extra deck card that do something different than the Eldlich cards do, and you can make it with the Eldlich cards. So it's a toolbox for the Eldlich cards. I saw myself in many situations where I wanted my Eldlich cards to go to the grave like now. And Link Spider was a card that do that. I just can trade a trap for that. And sometimes I want two Eldlich cards to go to the grave right now. So that's why I needed a Link 2. So I used the most generic one, which was Phoenix. And those came up a lot in my tournament. I was really glad that I made the decision to play the Lynx instead of the Kong, which is good. Not saying it's bad, but more often than not, I'm kind of have to play around Nibiru, so I can't put that many materials on my zoo to make the Zeus to begin with. So the rest of the extra is the part that the Dogmatica cards, right? So the two NTs, which I mean they are mandatory, Dash Dragon 2, Omega is really neat in this deck because not only you can stand with the Dogma cards, you also can make it like kind of often. You can make with the Golden Land trap plus an Ogre or an Ash, and you can also make with Gamma. And there is another thing that is good is because I only play one Lord, as you guys can see. So if my Lord gets banished, which I don't think is often, but let's say it's banished, I can recur the Lord back with Omega. Just make the Omega and stand by phase, put the Lord back in grave. So that's another nice thing that Omega can do. And the last card is the Wind Pegasus, which is I think playing the Maximus the way I'm playing, you need the fifth name in your extra deck just to because Maximus has to send two different names. So sometimes with Maximus you don't have anything to kill, for example, or you already use Ash Dragon, so you have to send two different names. So Wind Pegasus is a card that you can randomly send, and they stay in grave, and it's annoying for your opponents to deal with because every time they kill you, kill something that you have, you can shuffle a card. So that's pretty much it in the extra deck.
Oh, that's perfect. And I'm assuming you had a lot of fun with Zeus, right?
Yeah, Zeus is amazing. Like I didn't consider this deck before because the Zoo part was too weak in my opinion, but now with Zeus it is way different. I think it puts this engine in another level.
You did mention earlier that for going second, you normally just side out your Eldlich engine and throw in all these hand traps. Oh man, there's a lot of hand traps. Do you want to, I guess, explain why you decided to choose these certain ones versus the Ghost Mourner that you said you cut out?
It's not against every deck that I do that. There are some matchups that Eldritch cards are even good going second. For example, against Virtual Worlds, I don't side out the Eldritch card. I usually side out the Eldritch cards against what I call hard combos, like Infernoble, Dragon Link, Emancipator, like hard combos, decks that if they combo, there is no way that I can break drawing even a good hand in my deck. So really need to stop them. So that's when I usually side out all the Eldritch to put the hand trap. The hand traps are the Gammas, which I think is mandatory. I think it's impossible to main Gamma in a grindy deck like this because you can't afford to draw dead cards too often. Then is Ogre, which is a hand trap that mainly for combo, but also can be sided against Zoo, the regular Zoo, pure Zoo, because people just use Zoo effects for no reason every time. So yeah, you just kill the card. They lose a lot of tempo, and the deck usually don't play many extenders. They usually play defensive cards, so they will more often than not pass without Trident, for example. There is pretty much a concession for my worst matchup, which is Dino, which is Crow and Maester. They are amazing against Dino. I feel like my matchup against Dino is bad game one, but it got a lot better pool side. I even consider myself favorite pool side, not by a lot, but favorite pool side. But my game one is atrocious against this deck, but got a lot better because I have Gamma, Crow, and Maester plus the Ash that are already made. So it's a lot of effects that can interact with Miscellaneous Art, which is the main card that they do play. Also, the last card is the Floodgates, which I really wanted to play more. I want to play 4 Floodgates, like the extra anti-spell that I'm not playing. I want to play 3 anti-spells in the order, and I just couldn't find the space, so I decided to have the Maesters instead. But I really wanted to have more Floodgates. I still do. Usually the easiest way to lose both sides is by losing 2 spells, like non-searchable, really strong spells against my deck, like Storm, Twin Twisters, Tactical Talents, and the spells that good spells that decks already play, right? So I really want to put more Floodgates in this deck, but I don't know how yet. But to have a 17 card extra deck.
Oh yeah. Did you have any problems with any other floodgates? Like, did you wish you had any quick play back row removal or just back row removal in general in your side deck?
That's a really big advantage that Eldlich cards has that I don't feel like I really need back row removal playing this. Also, LCS, many people might not know that, but it's a really competitive event. So it is really hard. It's not because it's online that is easy. Like I play a billion YCSs, and I know like it is hard. It is as hard, if not harder, because there are less players, of course, but
players who usually play LCSs are really committed to the game. So you play less rounds, but they are harder than the average round in the regular YCS. So, and usually players that I'm saying all this because usually players that play in LCS tend to not play back row decks because they are usually weaker. So there's no need for me, especially playing Eldlich card that are historically good against back row decks, to put more cards against those because I even not going to play against them, and even if I do, I don't think it is that bad. Like I'm playing Dogma, Zoo, and Eldlich. All three engines are really good against something like Altergeist or Subterror, for example. So I don't think I have to waste a spot in my extra deck for this type of decks that I don't even play against. I played two LCSs. I played against one back row deck on both events combined, and it wasn't even a back row deck because it was a Subterror that play Numerons and red eyes like Dragoon. So I don't even say if I can call that a back row deck. It's not like a standard Subterror. So it is different in my opinion. This type of events. So yeah, that's why I didn't play back row removal. I'm not saying they are bad. Like Cyclone is really good. It's a card that I wanted to play if I had the space to, but I have to every choice that you make, you have to not use something else. So yeah,
Well, is there anything else you'd like to add?
I cover most of the points. I will make a really in-depth profile in my channel. In English, I already did in Portuguese, but I do in English as well. There we'll cover like every single card, and it will be a really long one. But for people who are interested in see more about the deck, you can see there too.
Oh, yes, of course. Well, there you have it, folks. Past champion, past UDS champion, all that stuff. So make sure to check out the description down below or click the comment section down below as well to find a link to Paulo's channel here on YouTube. So thank you again for being on the channel, man.
Thank you.
And listeners, if you're not a part of BORTLE Nation, sub for BORTLE. It's that easy and it's free. Oh, God, yes. BORTLE out.